Don, we've been playing a ton of Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD-2D remake. That's a mouthful. Again, this is a collection
Yes.
of the first and second game remade from the ground up on Nintendo
Mm,
Switch 2. And again, Don, like
mm.
we've been having a blast with this game, right? Like this is so much
Yes,
fun right out of the gate.
it is. It is. Obviously, Dragon Quest 3 HD2D remake, which is also a mouthful, came out a year ago, and then less than 2 weeks away from the anniversary, we got 1 and 2.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about like these HD 2D games. Again, a mouthful to say are just coming out left and right because there's a new one coming out in December by Square Enix, and then they have not the HD 2D remake.
New.
No, again, yeah, in quotes. But again,
Yeah.
like this was my first time with an HD 2D game, and I have to say the visuals are outstanding. I never got bored of them playing through 1 and 2 at all. Again, like when you're in the combat, when you're in the overworld, when you're in the towns, it is just a sight to behold. Like I love it. I hope more
Yes.
games and more studios kind of take this direction of this HD 2D. I know Square has kind of like pioneered it, but I hope more people actually follow suit.
Mm. I also think it suits Dragon Quest really well with how the way you travel across the overworld.
Yeah.
Because like it's not a flat surface, right? You go over hills, you go over mountains, you go left and right over water in Dragon Quest 2. So it makes sense with how HD2D is designed because I think it's the best use case outside of Octopath Traveler because
Hmm.
of the density of the map. Even though these maps are somewhat smaller too compared to a modern Dragon Quest game. Um, but I still think they packed them so much with detail.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you're just walking around, and there's always things to find or fights to behold, and that's the thing which I think some people might get a little like hung up on, which I didn't really care for. Is that there's still
Sure.
random encounters everywhere. It's like you're walking around, it's just like you pop into a battle, you don't really see the enemies or anything. But
Hmm.
I was totally fine with that. And again, with the grinding on top of that, I was like, okay, I want to find more enemies. I want to do a little bit more grinding. And even before we started
Yes.
playing this game, you told me you're like, hey, like just a heads up, this is a little bit challenging. Like it is difficult. So like when I started my first playthrough, I was like, all right, I'm gonna set this on the easiest difficulty. They have options for you right out the gate. Like you can have recovery
Right.
for HP and MP when you level up, and I'm a huge fan of that. Like I find that crazy that that's an option in the first place. But again, like hey, like let me play how I want to play. And then on top of that, when I was playing on the easy difficulty, they had invincibility on. I was like, what does this even mean? And then I got into a battle. I got down to 1 HP, and I was like, wait a minute, why am I not dying? And then I went into the options, like, oh my god, this is very easy mode. So I was able to toggle that off. I was able to keep
Yes.
the recovery of HP and MP up when I leveled up, and I was totally happy with that. I was like, okay, this is how I want to play this game because again, I'm new to the
Hmm.
Dragon Quest series, and I felt like this was kind of a great jumping point for myself.
Yeah, I think you're talking about specifically about Dragon Quest One because we'll
Yeah,
get into Dragon Quest Two a little bit. Dragon Quest One is such an interesting timescape because it was one of the first RPGs. Next year it came out 40 years
that's
ago,
crazy.
which yeah, and it's Hori's magnum opus, you could say, because it's pioneer in this genre in so many different ways. But going back to it now, I can honestly say it feels weird
Yeah.
because there's only one character. It's a very streamlined plot. You know what you're basically getting from the get go, sort of, because you have to defeat the Dragon Lord. That's the end goal,
Yeah.
really. So it's not really moving away from that path necessarily. Um, but man, it is a absolute sort of messing with your head, realizing, oh, there's only one party member, and that's you. You are the main character.
And that's why I'm happy I talked to you about the game before I even started. I was like, yay, like I'm definitely going to play on easy because again, there was just one party member, which is crazy to think about when you're playing like a JRPG, right? You think about all the different characters and casts that you have in your party. But it's like, no, this is just
Yes.
me against multiple different enemies at once on the screen. I'm like, okay, I really have to strategize this and really have to think on what I have to do in these battles.
Hmm. Yeah, I think sometimes it creates some unnecessary difficulty spikes on load
Yeah.
again. I'm not sure if you still consider that on easy, but even I was playing on normal. And at some point, I came across a boss and I died like 2 times. And there's not much game loss, it's an autosave.
Yeah.
So you go back to the last point before that boss, before you encountered it. So it's not much of a loss, but I got a little like peed off by it. So at that point, I moved it to the lower difficulty, beat it, and then went back up.
Yeah, the only times I really felt like a challenge with that specifically because I was playing on easy the whole time was when I wasn't at the proper level, I guess, to defeat the enemy. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go in the open world. I'm just gonna grind a little bit. And again, like the
Sure.
grinding for this, I think is pretty awesome because again, for battle speeds, you have 3 different settings. You can have it at normal, fast, or ultra fast. And then I had it at ultra
Yes.
fast. Like I went into the battles, I know what attacks I'm gonna do. You have like suggested actions. You can remember commands, which is awesome because again, like if you want to just kind of like throw something on in the background and play through this game, you can have the
Mm.
characters do what you want to do while you're grinding because you just click one button, they kind of just go to battle for you. But again, I would toggle that on and off because at times it's like, hey, like I really want to set my strategy here. At other times it's like, hey, this party member is going to be like the healer, or this party's member is going to be like the full-on attacker, or I'm going to have full control of this. Like I really like the flexibility that they give you for each party member. Again, that's with 2 because in 1 it's just you're going solo.
Yes. One is see what you get. Two, on the other hand, is it is a far more realized game. And I'll say this even with one, there's a far more realized game there. But that's mostly because both of them have way more scenarios. There's way more story there.
Yep.
There's voice acting. It feels like a far more complete package. Like with Dragon Quest One, you are meeting a bunch of characters that you haven't met in the original game, which are just randomly there to more link it with Dragon Quest Three. And then with two, they've added brand new areas that weren't there regardless. And then also a character that was there before, but wasn't officially a party member, is now randomly a party member, which was the Princess of Kanak. She just basically becomes a full-time party member at some point in the game. And basically creates like a full party of four again. And they're way more balanced into originally they were a bit off. Like the Prince of Kanak was could sometimes be ridiculously weak or like a glass cannon in cases. And they've in general it feels like a far more flexible journey, particularly two. One can be at moments,
Yeah.
but it's still like a pretty harsh game at some points.
And you mentioned that like extra content for like a remake or again this 2D HD remake. Again, for myself playing this brand new, like when I experienced that, I was like, wait a minute, like I couldn't even tell like what was the new and what was the old because again, I never really played
Yes.
the original. But as a fan of yourself of the originals, you go to this and be like, oh my god, this feels like a brand new game because there's just new
Mm.
content here that wasn't originally in the base game or the original
Yeah,
game
yeah,
that came out
yeah.
years and years ago.
Mm. Like particularly if you go back to Dragon Quest One, you wouldn't interact, for example, with the fairies at all.
Hmm.
And that entire section is just completely new. That's just new spoken dialogue, new dialogue made by the developers, like together with the original creator Yuji Horii, to make like a more a fleshed out experience for Dragon Quest One. And it's such a testament, like also such a bold choice to make because that game once again turns 40 years old next year. To add new content to it is a challenge. And I think what they've done the best is like really integrated well into the rest of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so for sure. And again, like it just shows that Square kind of really knows how to handle these remakes or remasters or whatever you want to call them of their own IP. Like they're doing a
Yes.
great job out of it. I think other developers should probably take a look at this as well. Again, you look at something as
Sure.
Capcom, like they do a great job with remaking the Resident Evil games. I'm trying to think of other
Yes.
people on top of that. But again, like this art style, this gameplay, like it just works. And again, this is my first time playing. I was like, hey, I'm on board for Dragon Quest. I'm looking forward to like the next ones down the line. And again, like other things as a new player to this game, they have like a handful of like helpful like settings in the menu that you can
Yes.
change at any time. Again, like the quest help text is an option. You can have objective markers, treasure location, secret spots. Like I just turned those all on because I really didn't know where to go at first when I started the game. But like once you see on the map the
Yes.
little circle spot, I was like, okay, I know exactly where to go. I don't have to just like spend mindless time searching around this map. It's like, okay, I had a point A and a point B to go, and I was very happy about that.
I mean, it's accessibility options,
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
it's more, it's better for them to introduce it to new players because obviously, um, like these stories are the follow-ups to Dragon Quest Three.
Yep.
Like, and they're trying to make more of a job of that to make ensure that it all ties together. But even now, there were some people who jump in for the first time, and they don't know how everything works. They might be sort of off-put by the instructions that the game gives because it can be a bit vague sometimes in how they say in the lettering. Though you have a pretty good idea of where you roughly need to be.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's good for the people who don't have that experience to simply have it there because it just makes it keeps the game from being frustrating or annoying at points because it just makes it a more free-flowing experience the way that you want to play it.
Exactly that. Again, like I keep saying, like I really had, with all those accessibility options, I really was able to play the game how I wanted to play, and we still had the same experience. Like we still both really enjoyed this game. And on top of that, like yeah,
Yes.
make sure you guys check out the menus right away, because when I first started, I was a little annoyed that there wasn't a toggle for running. But then I went into the options menu and I was like, oh, you can just tap B to run. Like you can just simply toggle that. Like I was like, oh my god, that's so much better. Even like healing your party members, I don't know if that was an option in the original game, but you can just simply hold X when you're in the menus to heal them, to heal all of them. Again, there was just so many things that I was like so thrilled about. I was like, oh my god, this feels like a modern game, even though it is a remake of the original games.
They also dare, like outside of scenarios, they also dare to include more newer enemies that weren't originally in 1 and 2. And also like elements like the scrolls, which gives you new attacks
Oh
which
yeah,
weren't there in the original and give you more leeway in what you can use. And then the sigils. The sigils were in 2, but they were never in 1.
hmm.
Um, and they give you like additional buffs to your character, which is a smart thing to include in 1 because it desperately needed it.
Yeah, when you're flying solo, those like help out so much. Yeah, I guess what else did we miss here? Did we miss anything else? We talked about the combat, we talked about the visuals, we briefly touched up on the story. Yeah, overall, like Dom, what did you think about this remake in general? Like, were you happy with it? What this was your dream remake of a Dragon Quest game?
I'm not sure what I expected of a Dragon Quest 1 remake in the year of
Yeah,
our Lord 2025. This is roughly the best case scenario I thought it would be. It's still challenging at some points. It still can be rougher around the edges, especially if you are not that familiar with
yeah.
RPGs. It can be a rough ticket to get to certain parts, even on the easy difficulty setting. Um, but I think it is the best version of 1 by a country mile at the same time because it feels a lot more forgiving at moments as well. With 2, it was already a fuller skilled RPG than it used to be, but I also fully realize that now with the original characters that they added and the interplay between the characters, especially now with the voice acting, um, there's so much fun interactions there that felt more hinted at in the original.
And the crazy thing is, like when I first heard the voice acting, I thought to myself, I was like, "Hey, I don't really think this game needs voice acting." But when it kicks into full gear, I was like, "Oh my god, I'm actually enjoying the voice acting. I think this is a good performance from all the cast."
Yes, it feels it adds something to the atmosphere that maybe wasn't there before.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Don, I think that's going to be it for our review of this review discussion of Dragon Quest. I'm going to try to say it again: Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD-2D remake. Again, it's a mouthful. Yeah. Any last thoughts, Don?
No, yeah, pretty happy. From point A to point B, it just flows really nicely,
Yeah.
and that's the most important thing about these games.
I agree. The combat is solid. The visuals are outstanding. Again, if you're a fan of the series or you're new like me, I think this is going to be something that you guys should definitely look into picking up someday. But yeah, that's going to do it for our review discussion. Thanks for checking us out, everyone. Make sure you subscribe to GameXplain, and yeah, we'll keep you posted on more Dragon Quest news. Until then, see you, everyone.